Will Johnson, number 2, sophomore, breakout freshman, standout performer in the Ohio State game when you consider their receivers didn't go off. When you consider the 2 interception game he had in the Big Ten championship, and is a big factor in that TCU game because he had the toe injury that kept him out a good portion of that game. And we're looking down saying, where's Will? Come find out he had an injury in that game. Well, he is one of the newest ambassadors, Will Johnson, for Destination Ann Arbor. And so Will, I wanted to have him on this week. I knew it would be kind of dicey because he has some business to tend to, right? He has some things to get ready for. But after the game, in early December, we'll get together. One of the things I think we're going to do, because the young fella is an avid golfer. So with the weather's turn, we were going to go over to Eagle Crest Golf Course here in Ypsi. Beautiful, picturesque course. I don't know if people know what kind of hidden gem it is. Ben, if you could find some photos or some video of Eagle Crest, I should have had you do this in the pre-show. We wanted to get out to Eagle Crest during the bye week, and it rained, so we couldn't do that. I figured one of the things we're going to do is get over to a golf simulator and get some swings in, so he can kind of show off what he can really do. We're seeing what he can do on the football field. Put on these buffs here. That's right. Thank you very much. Every time there's a turnover, this man has created a phenomenon from Michigan. And DG, they put him on a lot last week. That defense stepped up every single time. He was facing a bona fide pro in Caden Prather, right? Caden Prather is an NFL receiver. I don't know if people know that. I mean,
he's super nice.
Yeah, 6'4", can run. He's a dude.
Mm-hmm.
He got a few plays. He's made a few plays on Will Johnson. Now you got fans saying, oh my God, he's not as good as we thought he was. Talk about Will, it's just we're in so much trouble. Listen, can you explain to the people that, man, even Deion Sanders got beat? You look around, the best of all time get beat. Charles Woodson got beat.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. But can he bounce back this week from an okay performance in a much stiffer challenge against Marvin Harrison Jr., a guy who he held his own against last year? Can you break down that matchup for us here in the I Love Ann Arbor segment brought to you by Destination Ann Arbor?
Yeah, I think that Will Johnson's size and physicality is something that's going to really help him. Now, do I agree with leaving Will Johnson to prove a point one-on-one with Marvin Harrison Jr., one of the greatest wide receivers that this country and this world has ever seen? Absolutely not, right? Do you mix in some of that? Possibly, but remember, for what is it, months now, the thing I said for most teams to beat Ohio State, and especially in the passing game, you have to collision Marvin Harrison Jr. You have to get hands on him. And now we have the guy that can get hands on him with his length and strength. You got to get hands on him, and he has to see different bodies. And you have to allow the quarterback to see ghosts, right? Because if Ohio State's smart, and they have become very smart in this, right, he should be the first read every single time. Every single time he should be the first read. You're not tricking anybody. Everybody knows who he is and what he is. He should be the first read. So because he is the first read and should be the first read, you have to play on that, I think, as a defense. And you have to give the look that he may be open. And then you shift it to something where he's getting collision. The guys are rolling over the top. Guys are inside in those whole areas when he's running slants and digs and different things like that. And so what that does to the quarterback is now you make him have a real plan. Because if he doesn't have a plan after and he believed that he would have that, it's kind of shocking of like, oh my gosh, I got to go somewhere else. And the offensive line for Ohio State just isn't as stout as they've been in past years. And I don't think they'll be able to deal with the pressure that Michigan can create with Grant and the others, right? And so when you waste a second or two trying to get to your guy and he's not going to be available, now you got to kind of scramble. And when I mean scramble, not with your legs, but you got to scramble with your eyes to try to find the next guy. And I think that'll create a real problem for Kyle McCord. And so I think that should be the plan. But if he goes out and they're going to play man-to-man on him, I don't think that's putting Will Johnson in a position of strength. I don't think that's putting him in a position to be successful.
So a couple of things, DG. I think you're right. You can't make a living as a defense putting anyone, any corner, Michigan or anybody else, putting them on an island. I think the team that has done the best job against Marvin Harrison Jr. all season long was Notre Dame.
Mm.
Benjamin Morrison. Watching him play in that contest, I was like, man, how did they miss on him? You know, his sister's a senior on the gymnastics team.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, oh, how did they miss this dude? How did they miss him? He balled out. They mixed in some man-to-man. They gave him some some help over the top. They did. Oh, this is beautiful. This is Eagle Crest Golf Course, by the way. A beautiful hidden gem in Ypsilanti. If you've never been, I'm not even a golfer, and I'm telling you, it is a phenomenal course. And so I was looking forward to getting Will over there because that's his thing. That's his respite. That's where he finds his zen. You see JJ McCarthy with the incense and sitting by the goalpost. Right. That's his zen. No, Will's zen is the golf course, and this is a scene and a setting that even non-golfers can appreciate. Eagle Crest with the Eagle Crest Marriott. We actually had our wedding reception at the Eagle Crest Marriott. So it is a tremendous, tremendous golf course and resort, and of course, hotel as well for weddings, for gatherings, for reunions, all of that. You can have any of those over at Eagle Crest Golf Course and Eagle Crest Resort, right in the heart of Ypsilanti. So be sure to check them out. We probably won't be able to get there in December. And so we will get to a golf simulator here in town and then maybe get over there in the spring with Will and with Colston, who is his golf guy, right? Two of the up and comers on the team. But I digress. Getting back to who did well, one of the things that we saw Notre Dame do, they mixed in man to man, and then they gave some cloud coverage to that side, DG, and they gave him some help over the top. Allow you to be physical with him at the line of scrimmage. He is super aggressive, and then somebody has your back, right? And so they mixed enough of that in to kind of disrupt him, be a little disruptive, and take Kyle McCord off his first read. I think you got to do that. But more than that, Will, individually, like the thing I saw him do against Caden Prather, and you can kind of talk to this, he would stab and open up. And, Will, when I think of Will, I think of when he muscled Marvin Harrison Jr. at the line last year and knocked him down. That's what I think of when I think of Will. Now I know you say he's not, Marvin Harrison not gonna let that happen this year. That's not the point to me. He might not knock him down, but Will's gonna be physical with it.
100%.
And I think you have to be.
100%. Like I tweeted it out recently because I'm watching them versus whoever. It doesn't matter. It was a game, and every single play, he's just running, and nobody's touching him. You get guys lined up in front of him and don't touch him. Like, what are we doing? We're allowing the most talented player, I think the best player in college football, to run freely every play. That's ridiculous, and you should lose. You deserve to lose. So if Michigan allows him to just run freely, they deserve to lose. Because that's not something that is going to help you win, allowing this guy that's so talented to just run around.
So take me, because as a former receiver, like you got some receivers that when they get into they give you ooh, and then they out. That's not him. He give you a stab and he's out of there. He doesn't give you the old tricky stuff.
I just want to be clear. He definitely has that, but he don't have to use it because nobody touches him, right? So this is, and you got to think about who his father is, right? And the acumen that he has as far as a player. A lot of these goofy receivers do all that stuff with no collision. You're wasting time. So if nobody's going to touch you, you need to stab and go, like you're saying. So he knows, why would I dance at the line when I can go get hit right now because they're not touching me? However, you get a guy in his face. I've done my research. He has that, right? He has the 1-2, skip to my little, all the stuff you're talking about. So he's got that as well. But the thing is, if you force him to use that, right, get hands on, maybe with help over the top, you can be a little more aggressive. It stops the timing for the quarterback. That's all I'm worried about. And he's going to get some catches here or there, but it stops the timing for the quarterback. And now, even though I think that Marvin Harrison is a good teammate, he's going to get frustrated because guess what? This is his last chance against Ohio State. He's never beat him. He's never beat. This is his last chance as a starter, as the guy to get after Michigan. Right? He wants to touch this football. As great a teammate as he is, he wants to touch this football. He wants to touch it early, and he wants to touch it often. And as a team, as a defense, you got to know that and play to that.
Yeah. So it'll be.
Let me ask you a question, Sam. Let me jump in right here. So with not having what's DJ Turner, guy that got drafted by the Bengals last year, we're not having him as your last year. We had Will and DJ at the corners, right? Do you think not having a guy as good as DJ might be a weak spot this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's a concern. It's a concern because, watching Josh Wallace, who has really been coming on, and I want to say, the first half of the Purdue game was his best half of football. And then he got a little banged up in that game. And we didn't see him in the second half. And, he hadn't really been quite the same dude since that point. So I go back to something that I heard Devin say earlier in the week, and it was a brilliant. If you missed
I was about to say it again, but go ahead. I know where you're going. Go ahead, Sam. Do your thing.
No, I mean, I tee you up because I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant commentary, kind of taking us in the mind and body of a player, when you're in that zone. And so I'll use the example that you brought up. That is one of the one of the iconic moments of my childhood. My childhood hero, I had a couple of them that were above everyone else. It was loved Barry Sanders, but my number one to this day was Isaiah Thomas. We're gonna get Isaiah Thomas. So either on the Basketball Insider or this show, we're gonna get Isaiah Thomas.
So you're just gonna kick? Wait, so one of those means I won't be there. That's crazy.
Hey man, I gotta accommodate Zeke. Hey man, I was at the Speech Runner Slam tournament back in the early 2000s, and so we're walking out, and man, I see this dude with a Kango pulled down over his eyes, and nobody's saying anything to him. But man, I know from the walk, I know from just how his gait. I stopped, Zeke. He was like, "Oh man!" And now everybody like, "Is that Isaiah Thomas?" Hey man, I couldn't help myself because I knew who it was. That's my guy. 1988, Game 6 of the NBA Finals. Isaiah Thomas put on one of the most epic performances of all time. And were it not for a BS call on Bill Laimbeer, a phantom foul on Bill Laimbeer, the Detroit Pistons would have won that title. Because you knew Zeke spent it all up in that game. He was on one leg in the second half. He rolled his ankle, something serious. He couldn't hardly walk. 25 points he gave him in the third quarter. This is when they were Showtime Lakers. Was giving it to him, Daniel. Giving it to him on one leg. And DG's point, who was giving it to Ohio State on one foot, he said, "What injury? What are you talking about?" It's a different zone for these guys that they get in where they might have an injury. Yeah, that's an injury against other teams. But in that game, in that matchup, DG, if you could kind of take us into what it was like for you against Ohio State.
Well, I mean, I was in the most pain I've ever been in. And like literally, I'm sure there are a lot of people that have broken a bone or whatever. When it break, it break. It's not like, I wonder, is it broken? It's broken. Right. We know this for a fact. Now, there's been some times where something hurts so bad and you're thinking, is it broken? You know when it's broken, right? And so as soon as it happened, I'm like, oh my goodness. And on the same play, I have to say this. They called me for a fumble, and it wasn't a fumble. I was clearly down, and I don't know who didn't review it or whatever, but that's whatever. That game could have even been more different if they didn't do that. But I mean, I actually needed it to be a fumble because I couldn't play the play right after. I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need a couple of seconds to get my thoughts and my life together. But I threw for 230 after that, right? And I wasn't able to run. But somehow I remember a few plays. It's 3rd and 9. Gore just calls a sprint out, which I don't understand why he did that. But he calls a sprint out, right? And I'm just hobbling across down the line, and there's nothing there. I can't throw. I can't get the edge. I can't do any of that. And I don't know what makes me do it. I cut back, and it's one-on-one, me and Bradley Roby. And I know I can't get past them because I can't. I'm basically with a peg leg, right? and I look to the sideline and I pump at that sideline as hard as I can with the ball. And as you know, defensive players are inherently not very smart. And he jumps and moves our way, and I scamper for 9 yards on a peg leg, right? And then there was another play where the pocket's collapsing, and I'm trying to get through, and I'm like limping through, and somehow I juke left and come, and then I see Gilio wide open. I said, God loves me because I don't have nothing left. I don't know where I'm gonna go from here. And I just chuck it to him, and it's just the adrenaline, the feeling of this is totally different. This is not like every other game. There is no way you can sit out a play, a second, nothing. There is no injury, right? And so I hear you talking about 12. He's a little banged up. No, he's not. He's fine. I'm just telling you. He is perfectly fine, and he'll play the game of his life, right? And the thing is, he didn't grow up in this, right? So you think, well, does he know? Yeah, he knows, right? Know. It's a detail that I love that Harbaugh brought in. I don't know a whole bunch about everything, but I know Harbaugh brought in the attention to detail and the importance, right? He put importance on the game, and there is no way you're going to overlook it. And so him being here this long, he knows. He's seen the Ohio State periods. Like, wait, we ain't playing Ohio State for 12 weeks. Why are we doing Ohio State periods? Because it means that much. So he knows exactly what it's all about, and he's going to feel it inside. I'm not hurt. I'm perfectly fine, along with the rest of the players.
That's another backdrop because Davison Igbinosun was down. He's the Ole Miss corner transfer that Michigan was on the verge of getting because Chris Partridge was his coach at Ole Miss. Chris Partridge signs with comes over to Michigan. Igbinosun comes on a visit after he visits Ohio State. Yeah, I remember talking to some of the dudes. It's like, hey man, he checking on NIL. He's checking on what does NIL look like. And then so they told me that, and then when he announced his decision, he said, "Mama, we made it," or something like.
You knew he wasn't coming here.
Or I got to take care of my mama or something like that, which I'm not mad at. I'm not mad at it at all. But it's another interesting backdrop because Josh Wallace, if they pick up Davison Igbinosun, maybe Josh Wallace isn't here, right? So there are all kind of storylines in this game. It's a great point, Daniel. I believe what DG just said. They're going to say, if you beat us, it's not going to be because of 18.
Yeah.
It's not going to be him that beats us. Now, if these other guys beat us, we'll tip our cap. Especially since we think our pressure is going to get there, right? We have some dogs up front that's going to make it happen. That'll make your life a lot easier if you're Will Johnson, right?
Man, Grant is a true sophomore. I have to, like, how? This man shouldn't get to play against people next year. He should have to go to the NFL. Ain't no way Kenneth Grant should not get a chance. I'm putting out a petition. Kenneth Grant got to go to the NFL because he's going to hurt somebody. So think about him a year from now. Stronger, bigger, like faster. Like what?
I got to give a shout out to Will, and he'll be talking about his brand as he comes on Steady Droppin Dimes, as he does the My Ann Arbor shooting. Basically, what My Ann Arbor is, it is a special program brought to you by Destination Ann Arbor, where we take you on tours to different places in Ann Arbor from our vantage point. So there'll be a Steady Droppin Dimes My Ann Arbor. There'll be a Will Johnson My Ann Arbor, where he goes to a bunch of different spots that he likes, that he wants to introduce you to. And so we'll make sure that happens. He'll also talk about his brand. Will2johnson.com is his website where you can get your turnover buff. So every time they get a turnover, boom, you throw them on. I tweet it out. Every time Michigan gets a turnover, I got to tweet out a picture with the buffs. Not Des doesn't do it, but Charles does it. Tracy Wolfson does it. I think there's some other Michigan people that have adopted, the buff mantra. Except for DG, it's just his buffs have to be a little more expensive.
DG be busy. When Michigan gets turnovers, I'm like busy doing something. In case he was wondering.
But you can always do it after the fact, right?
No, it's too late. The turnovers have already happened.
But no, folks, it's going to be a lot of fun with Will. Again, wanted to highlight Eagle Crest. It is a great place. A great place, restaurant in Eagle Crest as well for any of your banquet situations that you might need to have. Like I said, we had our wedding reception there. A lot of folks have, reunions there and that kind of thing. All kinds of gatherings over there, and the room accommodations are outstanding. It is a hidden gem. Of course, the golf course. If you don't know about it, if you haven't seen it, that's why we featured it today. Probably won't be able to feature it in a couple of weeks when we go. around Ann Arbor with Will, but in the spring, we will definitely be getting over there. In the meantime, in between time, what we're going to do is we're going to get over to a golf simulator and see if I can. I can't hit the ball every time, fellas. Like every time I swing, sometimes I swing and I miss. Like, all right, you put it up. So now, DG, what that means is every time you swing a golf club, you got to make contact. That's what you're saying you can do?
Listen, man, I've never claimed to be a golfer. First of all, you see me at a golf outing. You know I'm just hanging out. I'm just doing my thing. But you choose to swing the golf club, so we got to hit the ball, Sam. I'm sorry.
Hey, DJ Sam knows who the golfer is in the group. He's seen me in action.
I have not seen you in action. Oh, yeah. Over at the basketball reunion. Yeah, the basketball.
Right. Ask our friend Dot Man how he fared when we got on the golf course.
All right.
No, I'm an avid.
I'll be a referee. I'll be a referee for y'all golf match.
Yeah. So
do golf don't have referees, huh?
No. Nobody said anything about a match. Nobody said anything about a match.
I gotta make sure Sam not cheating, Daniel. I'm the ref.
The best golf shot.
He gonna have a loaded golf ball, you know. He gonna have like springs on his club to make it go for you know.
All right, hey man, the best golf shot of my life was in the Eagle Crest. Because the Eagle Crest, man, you got the aiming point of the water. It's beautiful. I hit one right down the fairway. But it was a practice shot, and they wouldn't let me count it. I was like, man, what kind of if you hit the shot, you should be able to count it no matter when you hit it.
The story's fabricated.
Man. Like, I thought that was some bull. But anyway, folks, looking forward to having Will on the show and looking forward to, especially if Michigan does what I think they're going to do on Saturday, is going to make his first I Love Ann Arbor appearance. It's going to make it one for the books, one for the ages. Cannot wait. Again, his website, will2johnson.com, for any of his Turnover Buffs gear. Of course, for your tour guide to all things Ann Arbor. Ben, if you could bring up the QR code for Destination Ann Arbor, please do so now so the folks can scan that QR code. If you're coming to town, you want places to eat, places to stay, this is where you should go. If you have an event that you're looking to have in town, they can help you plan it. If you want to know what events are coming to town, they're the people to talk to. Destination Ann Arbor, your tour guides to all things Ann Arbor. They are your resource when it comes to not just Ann Arbor, Washtenaw County. Let me stress that as well. Destination Ann Arbor serves the greater Washtenaw County area. So spots in Chelsea, to spots in Ypsi, to spots in Dexter, of course, spots in Ann Arbor. All of those cities are encompassed.
Wait, spots got all those locations now?
No, you know what I mean.
Oh, not spots.
Not
I'm
spots.
Talking about Mr. Spots. I'm like, hey, Mr. Spots and went all the way to Dexter.
I'm gonna be Keith and Mr. Spots. See, you just threw Keith in there. I guess we have to feature Mr. Spots on one of these.
I ain't had Mr. Spots in a long time. I'm like, wait, Mr. Spots?
Keith, come on,
like spots in general.
See, that's the great thing about Ann Arbor. You get to know the people who own all of the spots. So we know Keith over at Mr. Spots. We know Perry over at the Brown Jug. We know Alyssa over at Paisanos. We can keep on going on and on and on. So we'll be bringing more and more of them to the table here in the coming days and weeks. And of course, like I said, for all things Ann Arbor and Washtenaw County, be sure to check out Destination Ann Arbor. Ben, drop the track.